Yo, dudes, Orrin here. We just got back. The Lions defeated the Tampa Bay Buccaneers by a score of 20-6. Well, technically, in my time, there's less than a minute to go. The Bucs just turned over on downs, but I'm starting it now. But another nail biter type of win for Detroit. They were playing a good team, and it's a team. The Lions can find multiple ways to beat you, and the running game, it was not as up to par, unfortunately, for unfortunate reasons. But the Lions got it done with their bread and butter play, the Amon-Ra St. Brown, third down passes and everything. So, and, they tried to pass to Laporta too, but you could tell the Bucs game plan for Laporta, and they seemed to have him covered tight. And, there was a fair amount of pass deflections or incomplete passes from Laporta there. So, but the Lions found a way to get it done with the passing game. Goff with over 300 passing yards. St. Brown over 110 last I checked. And, he had a really key touchdown play once Craig Reynolds was in and got a key block from him. Key blocks from other players around that play too, where St. Brown was scrambling around the edge, fighting the sideline, getting in that touchdown there. So, the offense scored 20 points and kept that streak going. Game's officially over now. Everyone's shaking hands. And the offense, even though they didn't score 30-ish points like they normally do, they did what they did to get the job done. I'll talk about Montgomery in a minute. The defense, both defenses really showed up in this game. Like the Bucs pass rush and their defensive line was very difficult, but you got to give them credit there. But the Lions defense was even better. And a key play way early in the game, because Mike Evans was wide open for a Hail Mary touchdown, but Isaiah Boggs got his hand up and did a SWAT rejection of the pass, went up. Will Harris caught it for the interception, and that set up the Lions for their field goal, which was their first 3 points of the game. And Riley Patterson, that reminds me, he did miss a field goal, his first and only attempt this season from 50-plus yards out, but he made two other ones from much closer. And we all knew that. We all expected that from Riley Patterson. He's accurate when he's closer, but when it comes to deep, he's not the most reliable. But the Lions offense is good enough to where we don't need him to be. So just wanted to point that out. But players like Alex Anzalone, shout out to him because he deserves it considering what he's going through. He played a great game, led with a bunch of tackles. He was everywhere. Jack Campbell was everywhere too, and as far as I could tell, he was a close second in tackles, and he seemed like he was everywhere all over the field. Will Harris did a good interception there. He did what he could. He had a penalty which led to one of Tampa Bay's 2 field goals. So, you take the good with the bad with him. And, I saw McNeil in there a couple of times doing things. Charles Harris had some key stuff. Julian Okwara had a couple of key plays. I think a deflection on them and that sort of stuff. But Baker Mayfield had 0 touchdowns in this game. It looked like they were going to be a threat to pull away with the game at any point in time, but it never happened. Lions got better and better. Cam Sutton did a good job covering Mike Evans too, as far as I could tell. So, he finally got some recognition, and he had some key deflections there, especially late in the game with the end zone there. So, great all-around performance. Even the punters on both sides, it was a punter battle, which, the Tampa Bay's punter pinned them way back in the end zone twice. And then Jack Fox did the same thing at the 1-yard line later in the game, which made the Bucs have to drive longer than what they needed to. So, little things like that were what made both teams good, and the Lions just so happened to come out on top today. And David Montgomery, he was helping with the running and setting up the play action with his running, and then he had a key 19-yard, pass catch, and then he was hit really hard. Unfortunately, he had a rib injury, refused to the cart and just walked in on his own, out for the game, rib injury, which he's dealt with before. And, it's troubling. I hope that he'll be all right and ready to go for the next game. But this is my main concern from this game now, long term. The Lions running back core looks like it's right around the worst case scenario that it could be, with Jahmyr Gibbs out, David Montgomery out. Craig Reynolds had to step in. that number 33 guy from the practice squad was also in for a little bit. I honestly don't know who he is, but he stepped in for a couple. So we had to rely on Craig Reynolds, who had like several like 1 or 2 yard gain type of plays. But the Lions relied mainly on the passing play and those bread and butter, middle across the middle passes to St. Brown for those first downs. So the announcers pointed it out. The Lions really dominated the third down plays and got the first downs when they needed them to. And that's one of the big keys, if not the big key to the win, because this was a game that the Lions had to grind out and win. And boy, did they grind out. Their time of possession was around 2/3 of what Tampa Bay was. Like 66% of the game was controlled by the Lions possessing the ball. And I think it tired out Tampa Bay's defense to the point where they were starting to commit back-to-back penalties and all that. And then we gained control of the lead, took the lead. We had control late into the game, forced the Baker Mayfield to have to throw in all of his plays, and not everything was available. So that was toward the game when I felt like Baker Mayfield was more and more vulnerable. Although Baker Mayfield, even though he didn't have a touchdown in this game, didn't have good stats in this game, he looked as professional and as good as any quarterback I had seen. And I feel like, the Lions were lucky at times that the Bucs didn't do more with their offense, but also the Lions defense did show up and prove that they have a really good defense now. So those are my thoughts and opinions with all that. So they play Baltimore next week. I am hoping and praying that, Montgomery will be good, healthy and ready to go. Gibbs will be healthy and ready to go next week, because both of them at this time right now are out, and the offense needs to depend on them. Oh, and one more thing. Jameson Williams has arrived. He had like an 8-yard pass catch gain, and then he dropped a pass where he was like wide open. Well, kind of. It was sort of batted, and then like he got his fingertips on it right there, and he missed it. But then he had that 45-yard contested catch, which turned out to be a clutch touchdown. So now we can start factoring in Jameson Williams. That's all I have to say, but we got the win. We're still our lead in the NFC North is climbing, and not only that, but our lead in the NFC number 1 seed race overall is climbing, because the San Francisco 49ers lost because Jake Moody, Michigan people remember him. He unfortunately did not make that last field goal. So but yeah, all that being said, see you guys next week at Baltimore with the Baltimore game. Until then, go Lions, one pride.